go again?
Oh, no, not again.
You've seen it before, haven't you?
Dom, how long have we been doing this?
Once more unto the breach. Dear friends.
Again and again and again until we're both dead.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, movie reviews, connections in mind. Venom, Let There Be Carnage, directed by Andy Serkis, and once again stars Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, the host of the symbiote known as Venom. This film takes place a couple years after the events of the first Venom film that came out in 2017. And this film focuses on the conflict between Hardy's Eddie Brock and a serial killer played by Woody Harrelson, who, through a series of events, becomes the host of the symbiote known as Carnage. And it is up to Eddie Brock and Venom to put aside their differences and save the city of San Francisco, nay, the world. Now, this video will contain certain spoilers of Venom, Let There Be Carnage, but I'll do those afterwards. I'll be doing my spoiler-free thoughts first up. Just so you know, there will be some spoilers later on in this review, but first, let's get into some spoiler-free thoughts on Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Is it worth, is it as good as the first film? Is it worth any hype? Is it worth seeing in a theater? I would say yes, yes, and yes, because, my gosh, this film is just so much fun. Just like the first Venom film, it was just fun, and it might not be the best superhero film out there these days, but it is unique, and I think that that's what puts it ahead of the crowd as far as superhero movies go, especially what's coming out of Marvel these days. Yes, their films are good, but they're also somewhat formulaic and standard and sort of cookie cutter in a way, and they've set the bar so high with them in the MCU that when their films come out and they're just okay, it's just kind of okay, another one to put on the pile. These films, however, Venom, the original Venom, and Let There Be Carnage, they're unique and they're also insane. I did a double feature of the first Venom film right before I went to see the Let There Be Carnage, and watching these two back to back, one thing will strike you is that the first Venom film actually surprisingly takes its time on certain instances, whereas Let There Be Carnage, it just goes. And I think the fact that this film is only 90 minutes long, it feels like it's a lot shorter because there's so many plot threads that feels like they're going to be bigger deals in the story. They're just kind of brought up, it's like, alright, never mind, we're going on to this one. It's like, alright, we're going to bring up this plot, it's going to be a big deal, I don't know, never mind, we're going to just go do something else. And then by the time you do that a couple more times, and then the movie's over. But the point is, that doesn't necessarily matter in the grand scheme of things because you're having so much fun doing it. And I think that all that's down to the way Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock and his dynamic with Venom. That was really the heart of the last film, and if you thought that you wished that there was more of that in the first film, boy did you get it this time, because this is nuts with all the stuff they do, and it's hilarious. I love the fact that I got to see this in a theater with some people, with a bunch of people, and we got to laugh at all the same moments. And really, I would say this is almost more of a comedy in certain instances, and I just love that fact. And also, Woody Harrelson as serial killer Cletus, I forget his last name, starts with a K, but he's also a lot of fun. Weirdly, he has the same sort of problem as Eddie Brock in the first film, where it's like, I kind of wanted more Cletus to happen, and what I got from him was great, but to a certain extent, in a 90-minute movie, I feel like I almost didn't get enough of him. And again, maybe it's just because of the fact that it's such a fast-paced movie. There's sort of that dilemma where it's like, yes, you want more time to be with these characters, but I feel like more time in this sort of situation would be a detriment to a certain extent, because it's that fast-paced nature of it, you're kind of on a roller coaster ride, and by the time you're over, it's like, what did I just watch? And that is, I feel like that's what you're going to get out of it. And for some people, I think that's going to be not their cup of tea. They're going to want that more well-developed character flow, and I understand that totally. I feel like this film, this really is kind of a disposable superhero comic book film in that regard. Like there are some characters that I really wish they would have. There's some that they would have explored a little more. Like there's a detective that Eddie is trying to get to keep a relationship with, as him being police officer and Eddie being a reporter. And they explain the cop's relationship, his backstory with another side character that is in here, but they don't necessarily go too deep into it. And there are certain things, like I said, there are some plot threads that get brought up and then dropped immediately as they go ahead, and sometimes that's fine. And other times, like, no, you really do need to explain how this is possible or why this actually matters. And most of them are fine, but there are some that I think, yes, they really should have explained that, and I think that is sort of a detriment, especially on a second viewing. I think without become more apparent. But on first viewing, I think that this was such a rush. And like I said, this is a disposable comic book movie, but I feel like there's a lot of disposable comic book movies out there. Not all, like, especially in the MCU, not all those films are going to stand out as classics in their genre. But I feel like for this one, this is the best kind of disposable in my opinion. That's the memorable kind. Like this, I would say this is almost the picture-perfect definition of a popcorn movie. Like, if you only see it once, you have a great time, you're eating the popcorn at the time, having fun with friends, and then you leave the theater. If you never have to see it again, then, hey, it did its job, but I think you'll remember it afterwards, and I think that's where its strength lies. So, I would highly recommend seeing this, and if I was going to give Venom Let There Be Carnage a letter grade, I would say this is a solid A. I'm not going to give it an A+, because, like I said, there are a couple things that I think they could have done a little better. But overall, yeah, I think this was such a fun time, and I think that if you watch the first Venom right before the second one, you'll definitely see a lot of differences and some things that they wanted to tweak there, and that's sort of a fun experience as well. I recommend doing it that way as well. So those are my main thoughts, spoiler-free thoughts on Venom Let There Be Carnage. Now let's get into some spoiler talk as to certain plot developments and character arcs that may seem familiar to you and where you may have seen them before. Now, I feel like this being as part of the Sony Marvelverse, where Spider-Man is going to be involved, I'm sure Morbius, once we finally get to see that, I think that comes out now in February, that's all going to tie into this somehow, but the fact is that we're now in these somewhat self-contained Spider-Man universe, and so that, with that being said, it should not be a shock that the fact that the whole third act climax revolves around, the villains taking hostages of people who've wronged them, but who are people who are close to the hero to lure them out and into a final conflict. Very similar to Spider-Man, especially the Raimi Spider-Mans. You could call it a Spider-Man. Spider-Man 1 sort of did that. And Spider-Man 2 as well. I think Spider-Man 3 is probably more the closer comparison, mostly because both had Venom, but also because the villain and the hero both have pretty much the same power sets, and both Spider-Man 3 and Let There Be Carnage feature the bell as the big sound emitter that disrupts the symbiotes. So there's that to contend with, but really you can plug in any of those Spider-Man films to compare with that. And also I think there's a certain element of Iron Man 3 in this, where because Eddie and Venom kind of have a breakup and they go their separate ways, and they again, it's somewhat different because Venom's self-aware suit. There's the comparison that may be made with Iron Man 3 because both Eddie Brock and Tony Stark have to sort of relearn how to get by without their powered suits. Eddie has to relearn how not to rely on Venom's exceptional memory to be a good reporter in that regard, and Tony has to figure out his self-confidence away from his armor. So that's those are my main points of comparison to the. I'm sure there's others out there. Those are just the ones that came to my mind when I watched it. Also, I will say I have not done this often in a movie, but the post-credit scene, and excuse me, I'm sure this has been in the movie news and speculation for months and months and months, but the post-credit scene with Eddie and Venom in some tropical resort, and there's this anomaly that looks like the multiverse broke, and then they see on the TV the J.K. Simmons, J. Jonah Jameson on the news, and revealing that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is Peter Parker is Spider-Man. And that's like, oh my gosh! I actually gasped in the theater, and I actually had a couple I saw that some guys right next, a few seats down from me gave me a weird look, and I was like, I don't care. I am so down for that, and that makes me so much more excited for Spider-Man No Way Home, which I believe comes out in Christmas time. Oh my gosh, I am so excited for that. And really, again, that's probably going to be one of the first clips that gets leaked onto YouTube after this movie is released in theaters, but really, that's what should get you excited about it. The fact that after all the insanity that we saw in Let There Be Carnage, the fact that now we get to see him do that same sort of insanity alongside Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Oh my god. Again, I'm so stoked for that. So, that was my main thoughts on Venom Let There Be Carnage. What did you think of the movie? Did you like it? Did you not like it? What about my analysis? Do you agree? Disagree? Did I miss anything as far as connections? I probably missed something. Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate whatever audience I can get. Be sure to look for my review of Daniel Craig's swan song from James Bond, No Time to Die, which comes out October 8th. I'll be seeing it on November 7th, so look for my review on that, as well as we're getting near the end of Season 2 of Star Trek Lower Decks, so once the last, I believe, 2 episodes come out, look for my Season 2 review of Lower Decks to come out. And if you liked this video or any other video on my channel, please give me a like, share, and especially a subscribe. I very much appreciate it. You guys are the best. Again, thank you so much for watching. But just remember, there is nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.